For my grandpa Gene, a truck driver originally from Stillwater, Oklahoma, the journey was the destination. In the 1930s, he crisscrossed Washington state in his trucks and was eager to share his scenic discoveries with a growing young family. Hugging the steep sides of Chuckanut Mountain south of Bellingham, Chuckanut Drive offered breathtaking vistas across Salish Bay and must have attracted the ex-Okie flatlander like a bee to honey. Parking along the two-lane road and scrambling down to a small Pigeon Point cove for picnics became a family tradition. Sandy beaches, busy crab pots, and massive Burlington Northern trains, and the pennies they flattened, colored childhood memories. Chuckanut Drive has always taken the drive part of its name seriously. It can be traversed by car, motorcycle, or a particularly intrepid bicycle, but its narrow curves, chiseled into precipitous sandstone cliffs, leave scant margins for error or photographers. Likewise, its creation story boasts twists and turns worthy of dime store novellas. Primitive and undependable, the earliest north-south passages along the west side of Chuckanut Mountain were subject to falling rocks and high tides. Well, after the Great Northern Railway bought the right-of-way along the shoreline in 1893, road improvements were stalled to prevent landslides that might impede rail traffic. In 1910, a nascent state highway department took control, hiring inexperienced convict crews to carve out stone ledges watched over by guards with shotguns. After 5.5 grueling miles, money ran out and labor ground to a halt. With a further injection of state funding, contractors finally completed the task. Hailed upon its spring 1916 opening, the road boasted a slew of firsts. A glowing Seattle Times account proclaimed it the first link of the Pacific Highway from Vancouver, BC to San Francisco to parallel salt water. The route also handily connected Skagit Valley farms to Whatcom County ports, proving its utilitarian value while providing an incomparable panorama of western Washington. What's more, Bellingham's Charles Larrabee, encouraged by Governor Ernest Lister, donated 20 acres of forested land along the road's northern stretch, which became Washington's first state park. Proclaimed the Times, it will undoubtedly be appreciated by tourists desiring an ideal picnic spot. In 1919, Chuckanut Drive began to be paved and widened, attracting even more sightseers. Well, by the mid-1920s, tourist-filled buses with observation windows shared the highway with prohibition-skirting smugglers of liquor and drugs from Canada. The Larrabee family gifted the state another 1,500 nearby acres in 1937. Today's 2,683-acre Larrabee State Park is one of the state's largest and most popular, and just one of the many hallmarks of spectacular Chuckanut Drive. In our first then photo, Bellingham photographer M.F. Jukes perched atop a 15-foot boulder over Chuckanut Drive, circa 1920, looking south to Pigeon Point. The Everett-Bellingham interurban trestle curves along Salish Bay. Unseen in this photo, Great Northern Railway tracks hug the shore. In our second then photo, an early unpaved section of highway showcases the sandstone cliffs of Chuckanut Mountain. Sturdy concrete guardrails replaced wooden fences attached to stone bollards in the mid-1920s. Distinctive Chuckanut sandstone adorns many buildings throughout the Northwest. In our first now photo, the prospect from Jukes Boulder is now obscured by fir trees, as is the view of Salish Bay. Several cars speed along the narrow lanes, paved with asphalt since 1960. In our second now photo, Concrete guardrails above a 1925 Chuckanut Drive bridge reveal a road without shoulders or sidewalks, carved directly from the cliff face. The Chuckanut Mountains are said by some to be the only place where the Cascades come west down to meet the sea. In our final now photo, the Salish Sea and several San Juan Islands can be seen from today's Burlington Northern Tracks, 200 feet below Chuckanut Drive. Chuckanut is an indigenous word meaning long beach far from a narrow entrance.